Do you have a sense of how this came about? Because this must have been a big surprise for the Russians, who still wanted to increase production, versus the Saudis that wanted to be more cautious.
Yeah, so I would say we've come a long way from a year ago. This was the last meeting in person where there was that mega blow-up between the Russians and the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And then eventually we saw at the end of last year, towards the end of last year in April, when prices went negative, Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, the Saudi energy minister, has taken this cautious tone for weeks now. And even when COVID just hit, at this IEF meeting last year that I attended, he talked about the fact that COVID was like a house on fire and you're going to call the fire brigade or not. And that's the same sentiment he's taking today. He thinks that we're just not out of the woods yet. And of course, obviously, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia needs a higher price. When it comes to Russia, what is interesting is that we do see Russia constantly wanting to add oil to the market. This has effect on a number of Russian oil companies like Rosneft, Lukoil, et cetera. But what's interesting about Russia is that although they fight so hard for the opportunity to raise production like they did in February and they're doing in March, they still haven't used it. Russian producers face a lot of weather issues in the winter. Even though they're pushing for higher production, doesn't mean they're actually using it. So I think Russia is probably willing to take the loss on the PR front because it doesn't really matter for them right now.
Is this a signal that Saudi, Annmarie, is back in control of this process? Because it's felt like Russia's been driving this story for the last kind of 18 months, 2 years. This feels like a reassertion of Saudi authority.
I would say so for sure. This is Saudi Arabia really single-handedly moving the oil market. We saw that last month. We're seeing it again. And they were a huge part, of course, of the mega deal last year. I have to say, RBC's Halima Croft nailed this when she gave out these three scenarios. She said, you have to remember, of course, he has a repeated insistence that this is a futile exercise to predict his actions. And she said, we think His Royal Highness may look to cement his reputation as the prince of plot twists. He also loves doing this. He loves a pop in the market, and he loves a little bit of drama at the end of an OPEC meeting.